sewing besties. Today we're going to sew a pair of Betsy shorts. If you don't already have your pattern, head on over to my Etsy shop and download your pattern. Again, it's the Betsy short. You'll find it under the pattern section. Grab your pattern, get it printed out, and come back here and let's sew some Betsies. I absolutely love these shorts. Here in Texas, we have been running a heat index around a 111. I think one day the heat index was 115. So shorts are kind of a necessity, but you still want to look cute. These are so light and airy, and because of the fullness that they have, they don't stick to you. Anyway, I've really enjoyed these. This particular pair is a size B, and we'll talk about sizing here in a minute, but right now I want to show you the features of these shorts. As you can see, we have an elastic waistband, but we also have a functioning drawstring. That's going to give you a little bit of leeway if you want them a little bit looser. You lose a little weight, you need to snug them in. You gain a little weight, you need to let them out. Whatever the case may be, you've got that option here, so you can fit a multiple sizes. My little niece that you see in the photos with the blue shorts, she is the tiniest little thing, and she's wearing a size B in that photo. I can also wear these, and I am not a tiny little thing. So again, you've got good I don't know what word I'm looking for. Anyway, you can fit a multitude of sizes. The drawstring helps with that. Okay, so we also have this really cool mock fly. I love the look of a fly, but I kind of also like a slip-on. So we have a slip-on short, but we've got the look of the fly. Now this is actually a functioning fly because I want it to look good. We've got our buttons, we've got our buttonholes. They actually do open up. But again, that just adds to the look of it to give you a genuine, a genuine look of a fly. But we don't really need it to function in this case because we've just got our slip-on shorts. Easy, slip them on and go. The next feature is that I'm going to turn these around upside down. It's probably going to feel weird to you guys, but we've got really deep pockets. Maybe I'll show it like that. Well, it's kind of sideways, I guess, but you can see we've got a really deep pocket here. It goes about to here. So I love that feature. I can't wear many things that don't have pockets because I'm always wanting to stick stuff or my hands. I never know what to do with my hands, so pockets are good for that. They also have a lot of detail, a lot of trim. You can opt to do the ruffle trim, to do the jumbo rickrack, or you can leave all of that off and simply hem the lower edge of the short and not have all the frou-frous. I like the frou-frous. Let's turn it over and look at the back. So this is kind of where things get really interesting. The back does not have a center seam. It's made more like, it reminds me kind of a boxer short, if you will. We don't have a center seam. We've got panels. We've got two side panels and a center panel. And where they meet up here at the crotch, life happens. Hold, please. Okay, sorry about that. So I think we were talking about the center back section and how it meets the crotch here. So that gives you a little bit of fullness back here, again, in the booty to make them comfortable. And again, I've got some little details sewn on here, and you can applique them, not applique them, decorate them, do whatever you want to make them your own. So that's them. So let's go over the fabric first. Again, you can see here I've used just a pretty lightweight lightweight cotton fabric. You don't want anything heavy. You could do light to mid-weight linen. I wouldn't suggest denim or canvas or anything heavy like that, because you're just going to end up with a lot of bulk, you know, and you don't want that. As you can see, this whole pair of shorts, you know, it's real soft and gives it a lot of drape, and that's what you're looking for. So pick you a fabric that that is light to mid-weight at the most. The other things you may want, well, let me show you my fabric that I'm going to use. I'll show you this piece here. It's just this striped, I'm not going to show you all of it just yet, just a striped kind of aged cotton. That's what I'm going to use for my base fabric. And then I've pulled some applique. Now, I have to tell you, this is my second time starting this video. So some of the pieces I've already done, as far as like sewing on the appliques, sewing the back together. I did that in my first video, and my phone messed up, and I don't have that anymore, so we're starting all over again. So bear with me if I say, oh, we're gonna do this now and I've already done it. Yeah, that's why. Anyway, I have pulled these applique. I'm wanting kind of an Americana look. So I've got this one. I also was thinking the quilt stars, which look like this. Again, I've already cut these out, so I don't have a big panel to show you, but what I can show you is the Vintage Quilt Hearts panel, which is this one. All of these panels, plus many, many more, are available in my Etsy shop. If you saw the applique on here, we've got the bird applique. I've got some panels with that. On the back, I've got the Love Wins. That's on one of my larger panels, has some words like this. So all of these applique you can find in my Etsy shop if you're looking for applique. And so you want your applique. The other thing that you may or may not want is the jumbo rickrack. So I've got some pulled here. This one is pretty bright, so I don't think I want it this bright red, so I'm probably going to over dye this one for my project, but we'll see when we get to that point. Okay, so I'm going to move this out of the way. Let's talk real quick about the pattern pieces. If you've seen my videos before, you probably know that I always trace my pattern onto freezer paper. If you want to know why or how that process works, I do have a video on that, so you can go to my main YouTube page and find that video. Anyway, the pieces that we have are, we've got two fly pieces basically. We've got the shorts fly itself, and then there's one that's called the inset. You're going to need two flies, one inset. Okay. We also have pocket pieces. There are two pocket pieces. You have the shorts pocket itself, and then this one I call the shorts lining, because this is going to go like in the back side. When you put your hand in your pocket, it's going to be against the back of your hand. Anyway, so you've got your two pocket pieces, and you're going to need two of each of those. You've got your waistbands here. And then you also have this little bitty piece. It's called the buttonhole reinforcement. And that's going to attach to the waistband. And that's where we're going to run our drawstring through. You're just going to need a little piece of fabric to reinforce that when you put the buttonholes so they don't tear out. Let's talk about the back last. So then you have, stay over there. You have your front pieces, which this would be the left front I have cut out here. You've got your front pieces. I'm kind of getting out of screen there. Let me pull this down some. Your front pieces, and again, I already appliqued on my other front piece, so I'll show you that in a minute. But your two front pieces, and then on the back. And the back is actually where we're going to start sewing. So I'm going to move these pieces out of the way. And again, I have already sewn my back together because that's what was lost on the other video. But I am going to describe it here for you. So, let me get our instructions so that I see if there's anything I need to tell you that I don't just skim over. We've already gone through all of that. So I guess one thing to keep in mind, all the seam allowances on this pattern are a 1/2 inch unless it's otherwise stated. And when you're looking at your pattern, any square that's in white is going to be the right side of your fabric. And any square that's in gray is going to be the wrong side of your fabric. So if you see something with gray pointing upwards, you're going to want the wrong side of your fabric facing you. All right, so the first instruction is going to be to assemble the back. And we are going to take the center back piece and then our 2 side pieces. And they are going to be sewn together like this. Now you'll notice this one's a little bit longer than this one. I hope that was, oh, it wasn't in screen. Let me turn these sideways. Sorry about that. Yes, you're going to notice that this center back piece is a little bit longer than this piece. But when you place these 2 pieces right sides together, like so, where they meet down here, you're going to have a little overhang because you want to get your 1/2 inch seam allowance. Okay, so you're going to place those 2 pieces right side together and sew this seam. And of course, finish off your seams however you choose. I usually use a serger stitch, and then I will press my seam allowances and do a top stitch. But you do you. And if you want to zigzag, that's fine. If you want to serge, that's fine. If you have an overlocker, that's fine. But basically what we're going to do in this first step is attach both of these side pieces to either side of the center back. Okay? And when you do that, this is what it will look like. I hope I can get all of this in screen. I'm sorry, my dogs are dancing around in the background. Their little toenails are making noises. But you've got your center back panel and it's sewn to your side back panels. And you can see, let me zoom this in a bit. You can see I've run a little top stitch down here. Okay? And on the inside, I have pressed the seams towards the middle. So they're real nice and neat. Serged them, pressed them towards the middle, did the top stitch. Okay? That is step number 2. Number 1. Number 1. Number 1. Now we're going to move to step number 2, which is the applique. So you're going to have your front pieces, excuse me while I reach in front of you here. And now you could put your appliques anywhere you choose. I mean, you could cover your whole fronts and backs. Hold please. Okay, you could cover your whole front, your whole back. You could do just borders, which on the blue shorts that my niece is wearing, I did primarily just a border around each leg. One thing that you want to keep in mind, whether it's on the front or the back, is that you will need to leave space at this lower section. And since I'm talking about this, when you're cutting out your fabric pieces, I did forget to mention the part about the ruffles. You are going to need to cut or tear some strips for your ruffles if you want to do the ruffles at the bottom edge. And those measurements are all given in the pattern. So you're going to have some ruffle pieces that are wider and some ruffle pieces that are narrower. The wide ruffle, now you're going to have a narrow hem here at the bottom. So your wide ruffle is going to sit here. Your narrow ruffle is going to sit about here. If you choose to add the rickrack, you're going to need to account for that also. And this is all just helping you to plan where to put your applique. And then if you visualize your rickrack is going to sit somewhere here, you don't want to put an applique down here because you're going to cover it up. So keep that in mind when you're deciding where to. Now I do tuck some of them under a little bit, you know, I think that looks cool, but you don't want to like completely cover them. But when you're deciding, you know, where to sew, where to place your applique, keep in mind that if you're wanting this trim down here, don't put your applique down that far. So now I can show you the other front piece that has the applique. This is my right front, and you can see I've left spacing down here. Now it is gonna, the lower sections of these stars are gonna get covered, but again, that to me, that kind of melds everything. It kind of joins everything together. So just visually looking at it, if I say my lower ruffle is going to go here, my upper ruffle is going to go here, and on this pair, I'm not fully sold on the rickrack. Depends on if I can get it the color I want it, but if so, it's going to go here. And you can see then the stars just kind of dance right above all of this trim work. Okay? So, go applique both of your front pieces. You should have two of these mirror images. Go applique both of your front pieces. And, oh, there's my other front piece. And then also your back piece. And this is my big back piece here. And again, wherever you want applique. Okay? That will be step number 2. We are back. So I got my stars down, and then I looked at some of the Americana pieces, and I decided, I don't know, I ran across this bits of a feed sack that I had, so I decided to use those. So this is the back of the shorts. I've got my legs trimmed out. I've got a couple little patches here, and then let me show you the front. Throw you over there. And I don't know what got into me, but as I was looking for details, I came across one of the rabbits, and I thought, I'm going to throw a rabbit on there. I don't know. Some more of the feed sack. Got my bird here. I've got some distressing here. I may go back and add some more patches similar to this one, just of the same fabric that just looks like mending. But anyway, I think for right now, I'm pretty happy with where the applique is. So I am going to go ahead and move forward. So we are on step number 3, which is going to be the front pockets. Okay, so the first thing that we're going to do is make sure we have, y'all move out of the way, make sure we have our pocket pieces. Okay. So I've got them here, and it says edge finish the long curve of the pockets and the pocket lining. So this is the pocket, this is the pocket lining. And when it says the long curve, it's talking about this area here, and make sure I'm in screen, this area here. So once we do that, then we're gonna be ready to put that on to the shorts. Okay, so here we are. We have our pocket pieces, the long curve, edge finished, and I just took these to the, let me see if I can zoom in. I just took these to the serger, find my middle there, and just ran a little serged edge right along there. Okay. If you don't have a serger, don't worry. I mean, you can just zigzag that. Serging is not necessary at all. So that's our pocket pieces. And then our pocket linings, I've done the same thing. Just this long edge right here on each of them. And right here. Okay, so Moving along, it says with the right sides together, pin the front pocket lining to the shorts front along the curve and stitch. Now we're talking about this curve. So what we're going to do is take the front of our shorts. I'm starting with the right front. Move some of this out of the way. So I'm starting with the right front. We've got our straight edge here with the little notch, and then we've got our curve. And we are going to take one of our pocket linings with right sides facing, so the right side of the pocket, right side of the shorts, and we are going to pin that right there, and we are going to stitch this curve, okay? And then we're going to repeat this for the left side. Okay, so that one is going to go like that, and then your left side pocket is going to be the same thing. Take your lining, match it up to these short curves, and stitch right along here, and of course edge finish as you go. Okay, so here's what that should look like. We have stitched these two curves, and again, I just threw mine on the serger. If you don't have a serger, just stitch you a straight line, a straight stitch, and then come back and zigzag this edge so you don't get a lot of fraying. Okay, so then it indicates that we are supposed to fold the pocket lining over to the wrong side of the pants and press. So all you're going to do is just flop this over to the wrong side, okay? And then what I like to do is when I first turn it, you see how things get a little bit wonky. Let me move this out of the way and I can show you a little bit better. If you just fold it over and try to press this, you're gonna get some puckering. So what I try to do first is choose which way. It's not gonna matter which way you press it, but press your seam allowance either one way or the other, and that's gonna help you get a cleaner fold when you do fold this over. So I am just gonna what I'm doing is I'm tugging the pocket away from the pant, and then I'm just giving it a little press. And now your pocket's gonna get pressed, but it's not gonna matter. Just kind of pull that out, pulling the pocket towards me and giving a little press. And then you can see when I flop this over, now you see how smooth this is compared to what it was before. So now I can lay it flatter and get right on that crease, and then just press my pocket down as I go. So I'm just gonna press this here, and you can see I've got some from when I was tugging on it, but again, that's just gonna press right out, so don't be too worried about that. Give this a good press right along that crease. And y'all, I love this pocket. I love pockets, and I like side seam pockets, but being a bigger gal, to me this is better for my body. So, and these are they look difficult, but they're really easy to make. So give that one more good press, and you'll see that your top edge here should line up and your side edge here should line up, and then you've just got this nice curve here. The next thing you're going to want to do is run you a stitch line, and you can do it from either side. I'll probably do it from the right side, obviously, but run you a stitch line probably about 1/4 inch away from this fold. Just run you a little stitch line right along this edge here, and that's going to help your pocket not like when you wash them and stuff, it's not going to open back up. It's going to help that stay nice and crisp. Okay, so let's go run that. I'm going to iron the other one, and then I'm going to go ahead and do my my top stitching along the pocket edges. Okay, I am going to zoom in for a second here and show you. I hope that's clear, you guys. So we have our top stitching here. I kind of used a thicker stitch, hopefully, so you can see it in the video. We've got that stitched down. And now our next instruction is we are going to take our pocket. Remember, this small piece we just did is the pocket lining. The next piece we're going to use is the pocket, and you are going to with the wrong side of your shorts facing up, you'll see the right side of your lining. You are going to match the right side of the lining to the right side of the pocket. So when you're looking at everything, you're going to see wrong sides only. Okay, that's kind of like right side of the wrong side of the right side. But here's what you're going to do. You're going to lay this just right on top of that pocket lining, and you're matching up these two edges, okay? Matching up these two edges here. I do pin this down. I'm gonna start over here. I've got fabric under here, so I don't want to pin all the way through everything. I'm just gonna pin this down. And you'll notice again, your sides should line up. I have a little bit of leeway there. I'm not gonna worry too much about that. It could be when I ran my stitching edge here. Maybe it drew it up a bit. Actually, it may be just how I have it lined up. Let me reline it and see what it looks like. There we go. Yeah, now I'm right on track here. So, okay, so I'm gonna put my pins right along this edge. I'm going to show you two ways to do this, actually. This first way is the way I choose to do it, but I will show you the difference. Put one more pin here, make sure I'm laying flat. So, the way the instructions tell you and the way I do it is once I've pinned that down from this back side, I am going to run this through the machine, and I'm going to sew through all 3 layers, and I'm going to stitch right along the curve. And what that's going to do, it's going to close the bottom of the pocket. It's also going to attach the pocket to the shorts, meaning your pocket inside is not going to be flopping around or pulling. But the downside, if you will, is that from the front, you are going to see that stitching line, okay? It's going to come all the way across here. Personally, I don't mind that. What I like that it does is if this is stitched down here and I put the shorts on and say, I mean, these are not snug, but in some pants they may be. If you get any pulling here and this isn't attached down, it's going to make your pocket gape open. This kind of keeps the pocket from gaping open. Okay, this is the way I'm going to make mine. So I'm going to stitch, actually I'm going to stitch from the wrong side so I know where I'm stitching, and just follow this curve around. Now, if you don't want your stitching to show on this front side, what you're going to do is you're going to start the exact same way with the wrong side of the shorts facing you, right side of the lining, and then the wrong side of the pocket, and you're going to line everything up just the same. But when you go to pin it, you're going to lift this edge because you're not going to want this sewn down to your main fabric. So just pin along this edge here, just attaching the two pocket pieces. I don't know why I'm shaking, y'all. I guess I only had 1 cup of coffee, so I shouldn't be. I feel like I'm shaking. But anyway, you're just going to attach these 2 pieces together. Okay, you see how we did that? And then when you go to run it through your machine, you can just pull everything else out of your way and then just stitch around here, stitching the pocket pieces together. And then once that's done, when you turn it over, you're not going to have any stitching coming through the front. But your pocket inside is going to be like free to kind of flop around. It's not going to be attached. Okay? So go get your pocket sewn down. And one other thing to mention is whichever way you choose to do your pocket, once you are done working with this edge, what you're going to want to do is line everything up here at the top, and just run you a basting stitch across here just to hold those together, and then do the same thing here along the sides. Okay, just line that up, line this up, so everything is attached here, and run you a basting stitch so it just kind of stays together. That's going to make it easier when we start putting the shorts front onto the shorts back. Okay, here we have our pocket finished. So this is one side, and like I said, I did it where I stitched through all 3 fabrics, and if I can do this without shaking y'all too much, we'll zoom in, and you can see on the rabbit here how my stitch came right down through that rabbit. But again, I don't mind that. I like this better than, you see when I pull on this, I don't get much gaping here because it's all secured here. So my pockets don't really gape open. So, but that's again personal preference. If you don't want to see this, only stitch your pocket pieces together. Don't attach them to the bottom. Okay? But we've got our nice big pockets going here. Here's my other one, and again my stitching came down right through the edge of my bird. But that's fine with me. There's our big pocket. Okie doke. Okay, so that was step 3. Oh, there's another pin. Now we're going to move on to step 4. I think I'll work on this side. That's how the instructions show, so that you can see it better and kind of follow along with how it's written on your paper. You reach across you here and grab my fly pieces. Okay, so you have 2 fly pieces. You've got the fly inset and the shorts fly. Okay, so our instructions say, with wrong side facing, fold 1 fly in half and press. Okay, so here's 1 fly with wrong side facing, fold it in half and press it. Okay, so we're just gonna fold it in half right there. Get my little iron, give it a little press. Okay, I'm gonna move you out of the way. And then it says, with right sides facing and raw edges matching, pin the pressed fly to the right front, this is our right front, and stitch, leaving the lower 1/2 inch unsewn. Okay, so this lower 1/2 inch is not going to be sewn. So we're going to pin this little guy right there. And I'm going to put me a little pin about a 1/2 inch up, because we're not going to sew all the way through here. Okay. Pin you. So we're just going to stitch right down here and stopping at this pin. Okay, so I have stitched it on, stopping a 1/2 inch, so this lower portion isn't sewn down, and then I edge finished, and then I went ahead and edge finished all the way down, being sure not to catch this in my edge finishing. I just serged it down. So now we are going to press the fly away from the right front. Okay, so we're going to push it over like so and just press it down. Now you're going to have this little bit hanging out here, but don't worry about that so much right now, because we're going to use that later. Okay, so we are done with the right front for now. That's what it looks like on the inside, and this is what it looks like on the outside. We're going to set it aside, and now we're going to work on the left. Okay, so let's get our left front out, and then it says, with right sides facing and raw edges matching, pin the fly inset. Fly inset, that's our smaller piece, to the left front, leaving the lower 1/2 inch unsewn. Okay, so we're gonna put this one right here like this. Okay. Okay, so I've sewn this on, and like I said, I've gone ahead and edge finished. leaving that lower 1/2 inch unsewn so it's not attached down here. Okay. And then it says press the fly inset away from the left front. So we're going to do the same thing. Just fold it over and give it a little press. Like so. Got a little string hanging out there. I don't like strings. Okay, done. And now it says, with the wrong sides facing, fold the second fly piece in half and press, and then you're going to sew your buttonholes. So we're going to take our second fly piece, and with wrong sides facing, we are going to fold it in half and give it a press. Like so. And then in your instructions, let me see if I can see which page it is real quick. Here we go. On page 7, you're going to have your buttonhole guide. And so I am making the larger size, so use your buttonhole guide here for your piece. And we're going to sew 3 buttonholes. Okay, so take your guide, mark your buttonholes, and get your buttonholes sewn. Okie dokie, I'm back, and I have my little buttonholes all sewn into my fly. So now, what we're going to do is we're going to pin this to our fly insert here. We've got it sewn on and pressed over. We're going to match these raw edges here and here. And we're going to pin along this edge, if I can find a pin. I think I've left them all over there. We're just going to pin along this edge here, and we're going to stitch these together. Okay? Just make a little seam right down there. All right, now you're going to have something that looks like this. You've got your left short front. You've got this fly inset piece, and then you've got this fly attached to it that you've got your buttonholes in. Okay, now, and remember, we've left this little part like free here still, because now what we're going to do is we are going to fold this along this seam here where we attach the inset to the short. Along this seam here, we are going to fold all of this to the inside. Okay, let me turn that over so you can see. We're going to fold it all to the inside, like so, and give it a press. Let me get right up there to that seam line. Okay. And then you have your, of course I've taken some off with my serging, but you've got your seam allowance here now, okay? And this part is still free. And then you can see now you're going to have a fly, and then this was actually our inset, but you've got the front of your pants, and then you've got the fly itself inside with the buttons. Okay, so let's see where we're at on our instructions. Oh, press it towards the wrong side of the left leg, stitch a fly curve, and make sure to stay above the 1/2 inch that you left unsewn. Okay, so what that, what that means is, you know how on jeans you've got the little curve, you know, that comes like this. You could make it squared off, or you could make it curve, either way you choose. The main thing is that you do not want to sew through this lower 1/2 inch. So I am going to just place me a little pin here so that I know I'm not going to sew below this pin. So what I'm going to do is take this back to the machine, and I'm going to sew down here. When I get to here, probably about here, I'm just going to start curving around so that I make a nice little curve right here. Okay, so here you can see, I hope you can see, I've got some threads there that I've just stitched right down that curve, made me a little swoop right here. And so you can see from the back side, again, I just came right down here, curved around. leaving this lower 1/2 inch free. So again, from the right side, we're going to have our fly placket, I guess you could call it, like so, but inside you've got your buttonholes. Okay? Now, let us see. Okay, so now it's telling us this 1/2 inch that we've left unsewn. Let me zoom back out just a bit. Oop, wrong way. My bad. Okay. This, you guys, I'm going to get better at videos. The more I do, I promise you. Hang with me. So this 1/2 inch that we've left unsewn, we're going to want to press it up. So just press that up on both pieces. So we're going to do it on the left front, like so. We're going to turn our right front over. Oh, I guess it needed to go from this side. I'm sorry. It's not. It's on the front side. Anyway, we're going to press it up like so. Actually, I'm going to go ahead and press it this way so it doesn't get caught in anything. It's not really going to matter. You just want to press it up out of your way because we're going to be stitching this seam here, and we don't want to catch this down in it. Okay, so whichever way you want to press them, just press them up out of the way. Okay, so now with the right sides together, you're going to place the left side on top of the right side and stitch from the fly down to the notch, which this is the notch here that we're talking about. Okay, so we are going to, this is our right side, we've got him pressed up. We're going to place our left side on top. And actually, these are the two seams we're going to want to be sewing here. And actually, when I did this, I forgot, and I didn't mention this in the instructions. We're gonna have to trim this little, see how he's sewn inward? Darn it, I'm gonna have to go back and edit that in the instructions. Put a little clip so that you can open out this edge, because this is the edge you're gonna wanna be sewing. There. I hate when stuff like that happens, but I'll go back and edit it. And hopefully you came to watch the video so you can see. So we're going to line these up. Okay, it's going to look something like this. And the only thing that we're going to be stitching is from the bottom of the fly to this notched area here. Okay? And it should end pretty well right here. You want to make sure that you backstitch and reinforce this at both ends, okay? Especially down here. So we're matching these two edges and stitching from the fly to the notch. All right, so I've gone ahead and sewn this. Okay, so we're looking something like this. Now we're going to open our pants back up, and you can see why I said be sure to reinforce that, because these here are going to come down for your short legs. So that needs to really be reinforced there. And then what's happening underneath is now we are going to tuck these little guys back down, okay? So we have our inner fly here, which this is where we're going to put our buttons. Tuck him down, fold that up. And then we have our nice little, you lay flat, please. There. We have our nice little curve here. Okay. You open it up, you got your buttonholes, and then you're going to have your buttons on here. So let me show this from the back side. Okay. So we have our seam that we just sewed. We've got our buttonhole piece over here, fold his little edge down, and then we've got this one that comes up over that one, okay? And now what you're going to want to do is take all of these together and finish off this raw edge. Just, you're going to have to kind of hold it like so, but line these little guys all up and just either run you a zigzag along here or serge it. That's just going to finish that off. All right, so I've sewn across here and edge finished it. So this is what the inside should look like. And if you open the pieces up, you have this, and then you have your front there. And from the front, you're going to have something that looks like this. You've got your buttonholes, which again, you've got a little flap there, and they're going to lay nicely right on top of that. Okay. Now, what you're going to want to do, I found these really cool little heart buttons. I think they're the ones I'm going to use. Go ahead and mark where you want your buttons to be. Sew your buttons onto this right side in here, matching them to your buttonholes. And then what you're going to do is once you get your buttons sewn in there, you're going to make sure you match up. Go ahead and fasten your buttons. Make sure you match up this top edge. And you're just going to stay stitch or, not stay stitch, what do you call it? Anyway, run you a stitch across here. Sometimes my brain can't think of words. Ugh. Anyway, just run you a stitch across here, because again, we're not going to have an opening front on these. This is just kind of a mock fly. We're going to run our elastic and our drawstrings up here. So we want to attach all of these together right here. Are you still with me? I hope so. So we've got our fly done. We've attached it here at the top. I've got my little heart button sewn inside. Got our buttonholes. So you can see how this, you know, it's not going to be a functioning fly, but it really is a mock fly, but it gives a very good, what's the word? A very good aesthetic, I think. Okay, so we're ready to start putting everything together. So what we're going to do now is, with right sides together, we are going to put our back, reaching over you again, sorry. We're going to put our back piece on top of our front piece. And let me get you in screen here. We are going to match up our side seams on both sides. This side seam, and then I'm out of range there, tuck everything in, and this side seam here. Okay, I just have everything gathered up kind of in the middle so I can keep everything in frame. So pin your two side seams, sew them down, finish off your raw edges however you choose, and then we're going to tackle this crotch seam next. And that's a little bit tricky, but you can do it. All right, you should now have your front attached to your back at the side seams here. You're going to notice that the back of your pants is quite a bit narrower than the front. Again, that's because we want kind of almost a gathered look here in the front. So the front is fuller. Don't panic about that. So this next part, let me move these up so we can have everything in frame there. This next part is going to feel like you are putting a square peg in a round hole, but just hang with me. We can do this. What you want to do is mark your center of your back panel. Just put your little pin there. And we're going to start with this lower portion of our V, and we are going to go ahead and pin it to the edge here. I'm going to pin it about right there, like so. And we're going to do our other side of the V the same way. Just place it there. And then we're going to take our center, the center of the V right here, and we're going to place it on the center back that we marked. Okay? So we're going to put you right about there. Now here, I'm going to put two pins in here because I folded this open, and you can see I'm going to end up putting stress on that seam, and I don't want to do that because we got to do a little bit of easing with this. So I'm going to put my pins right up next to, might move that other one over a bit too. Yeah, I am. Right up next to that seam. Okay, so now what you're going to want to do is we are going to ease this fabric in between. Okay, you see how I did that? I just kind of grabbed my center and I grabbed my pin I have here and lined those edges up. Okay, so, and again, you're going to have a little more fullness here than here, so you're going to have to ease that in. Okay, I'll hold that there and put me a pin. And then I'm going to move to this other side. And it helps when you lay it flat, like so. And then take this fabric here. Well, I've got my other side. That's not showing you too well, sorry. Let me try this again. I kind of take the fullness of the fabric and bring it around, which kind of brings that front over to help line it up with the back. Okay, so again, I've got something like that, and you, like I said, you've got more fullness here than you do on the back, but you're going to just ease that into place. Okay, so, and this is a little tricky. There, I'm going to hold it right there. Stick me a pin, and you can see that it's, you know, we're going around all these angles, so make sure that you ease that in where it needs to be. Put me a pin there. Ow! Don't poke yourself. So you've got something like this, and like I said, you can see that we've got some easing to do, but that's what you want because it's changing shape. Okay, so it's all pinned down. I'm going to take this to the machine and sew that edge. Are we still friends? I hope so. I know that was a tedious part, but we made it through. Yay! So here I have the center seam stitched, and then I top stitch over it with my little decorative stitch. Our V here, that's connected to our straight edge at the back. Okay, I hope you can see that pretty clearly. That's what it looks like. Okay, moving forward, I swear it's going to be easier from here. I promise, I promise, I promise. That was the rough spot. So next what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and hem these, just a tiny hem. What I did was I just serged my raw edge so it doesn't fray, turned under 1/4 inch, and then I'm just going to hem this. If you're wanting to stop here and not add the ruffles, you could always, you know, turn this under twice so you get a more finished look. So hemming is our next step, and then we'll be ready to move on to the waistband. Alright, so I'm all hemmed up and I've set these aside for a second, and we're ready to do the waistband. So you should have 2 of these cut, which I do. And the first step is we are going to place the 2 waistbands. Well, did that wrong. We're going to place the 2 waistbands with right sides together and stitch these short ends, this end and then the other end right here. Alright, so I've got my ends sewn, and we are going to press these seam allowances open like so. Get my other one pressed open. there. Okay, now you need to grab your little buttonhole. Oh, I wrinkled that one, didn't I? Oh well. Grab your little buttonhole reinforcement piece. That was your little bitsy square pattern piece. And on one of these seams, we are going to place that. I just center it over one of the seams. Place it right there. And sorry, I was just looking back at the instructions and making sure, because sometimes like I do things in different orders and I just wanted to make sure that I was following with what your instructions say. So yes, pin the buttonhole reinforcement over one of the seams and stitch it in place. So I'm just going to run a little zigzag stitch around this. And then what we're going to do is, once I get that stitched in place, we are going to do some pressing. I'm going to stitch this down and then we'll come back and do that. Okay, so I've got my buttonhole reinforcement sewn down, and then what you're going to want to do is fold your waistband in half and give it a good press all the way around. Okay, I've already pressed this one obviously, so give it a good press all the way around. And then what you're going to do is you're going to open it back up, and we are going to put our 2 buttonholes here that we're going to use for the drawstring. Okay, now when you're deciding where these buttonholes go, you're going to use this crease line that you just made, because you don't want them to go above that. And then you're going to use your seam allowance here at the bottom. Okay, so you want your buttonholes to fit between your bottom seam allowance and this center crease. Okay, so keep that in mind. And then I'm just going to center them up here on my little reinforcement piece. Okay, all right, so I've got my buttonholes stitched on here. And I forgot to mention, these buttonholes do not need to be super big, just large enough for your twill tape or your silk ribbon or whatever it is you're using for your drawstring. Okay, so now we're ready to attach our waistband. So get your shorts, and we're going to turn the shorts wrong side out. There we go. Okay, and it says with the right side of the waistband facing the wrong side of the shorts, you're going to pin the waistband. You're going to pin the edge opposite the buttonholes. Okay, so this is our waistband. Here's our buttonholes. We're going to be pinning this edge that's opposite of the buttonholes. Okay, pin the edge opposite the buttonholes to the wrong side of your short. Now I always start here at the center, okay, because we know this is the center of our waistband. And let me look from the front. There's my center edge. So I'm going to pin this right here. Like so. And now on the back of our shorts, we don't have that center seam. So I'm just gonna fold this in half, find my center, give it a little press so it makes a little crease that I can see right there on that line. And then I'm gonna make sure that my waistband is not twisted. And then that is where my other seam from the waistband is going to go, right there at the center back. Even though we don't have a seam on the center back itself, we've just found the middle, so we're going to place it right there. Pin that down. And then all you need to do is just find your sides. Just kind of, everything else should fit, you know, line up from there. Okay? And pin that down all the way around, and then you're going to go ahead and stitch it. So you've got the wrong side of the shorts facing you, the wrong side of the waistband facing you. You've got one seam of the waistband here at the front of the shorts, with the buttonholes away from the edge that you're stitching. And then you've got the other seam of the waistband at your center back where you found it on your back panel. Okay, so go ahead and stitch your waistband on, and then we'll come back. Okay, so I've got my waistband sewn down all the way around. What I'm going to do now is turn these boogers right side out and press this waistband upwards, like away from the pants. And this seam allowance, you want that going up also, okay? So let me show you what that looks like here on the front. Just a second. Let me push that down. That's our back. And then here is our front. Okay. I keep bumping the camera with my head, so I hope I'm not shaking y'all around too much. So we have the front of our pants, we have our waistbands folded up, and then we have the seam allowance going up also, okay? And I'm just gonna give that, make sure everything's in place, give that a little press. Make sure I'm getting the back also. Okay. All right, so that's all pressed. And what you're going to want to do, like we talked earlier, your front is bigger than your back. So your seams, your side seams, oh, I'm not even in frame to show you that. Let me zoom out just a little bit. Oh, there we go. Your side seams are tucked way under here, okay? So you're going to kind of fold everything until you get your side seam. I don't know if you can see this in camera, but this is my, here's my pocket, here's my actual side seam. And then on this side, here's my side seam, okay? Excuse me. Mark. Okay, I think they're done. Maybe, nope. Hush. Okay, I think they're done barking. Sorry. So you have your side seam here and your side seam here. You're going to take your twill tape that you, or your ribbon, whatever it is that you're using, and at these side seams, but on the waistband part, okay, not, you're going to have a seam allowance here. It's not really going to matter so much, but you don't want to be catching your twill tape when you're going to be sewing stuff down. So I'm going to put mine right about there. This is my side seam. Put my end right about there and pin it. It's hard to pin holding way out in front of you. Okay, so there's that one. And then I'm going to take my next one, and here's my side seam. So I'm going to pin it here. The other thing to watch when you're pinning this twill tape is remember our crease where we folded this waistband in half, which my crease is right there. So we want to make sure, so I'll say my crease is right here. We want to make sure that we're pinning between these two areas, okay? So right about there, and in line with our side seam. So I'm going to pin that right there. I'm going to go stitch those down, and I'll show you how we're going to weave the ribbon. Okay, so I've sewn mine down. I do want to show you, and I guess I should have shown you this before. I apologize, but I didn't think about it till I got to the machine. When I sew these twill tapes down, I always use a zigzag, and you could just zigzag back and forth to get it. You want to make sure you have a good solid hold on this, okay? Because you're going to be pulling on this if you want to tighten your britches, so you don't want that pulling out. What I like to do is just zigzag a little square, because that's going to really reinforce that that drawstring if I tug on it. Okay, just a little tidbit. So now that we have our drawstrings attached at the sides, I'm going to pull them out and make sure that they're not twisted. I mean, I don't like them bunchy inside. And what you're going to do is the drawstring coming from this side is going to cross over to this buttonhole, and the drawstring from this side is going to cross over to this buttonhole. And I'm going to show you why here in a minute. So we're going to put that one through there, like so, and then we're going to put this one cross over to the opposite buttonhole. If you put the drawstrings to the buttonhole closest to them, when you go to pull them, like if they're just coming to here and you go to pull them, it's not going to want to pull, because this string is going to be pulling back against, you know, that direction, and that's just not really going to do anything. When you cross them like this and then you go to tug them, see how they pull in nice and easy? Okay, so that's why you want to crisscross them. This side goes to the farthest buttonhole from it, and this side goes to the farthest buttonhole from it. Okay, that's all we're going to do on that. Now, what I like to do here too, and you may want to pin this, it's up to you. No, you can't pin it because we're going to be, well, you'd have to remove your pins as you go. If you pin from the outside, you'd probably be okay, like pin along here. But what we're going to be doing is now folding this waistband down and stitching. Not sure if I mentioned it before or not. You have a 1/2 inch seam allowance here. Now you can tuck that seam allowance under and stitch it down, and you'll get a clean edge. There I go bumping you guys again, sorry. I keep headbutting you. I like this little raw edge. This is like my selvage edge. I like that. So I am just going to tuck this one over and sew it down like so. Bloop, just like that. But what I was getting at was, when you go to sew this down, you don't want to catch your drawstring, because then it's not going to work. So you want to make sure that your drawstring stays up inside as you're sewing. Like, make sure it stays up here. So if you want to pin it up, you can pin it, but don't pin it from this side, because you're not going to be able to get your pins back out if you sew it down. All right, so the other thing that you're going to keep in mind is at this back section, sorry, I hate strings. Get anal about that. At this back section, you are going to leave a couple of inches open. Okay, don't stitch it all the way closed. Leave a little gap open, because that's where we're going to insert our elastic here in just a minute. Okay, so pin your waistband down, stitch it on, stitch it closed. It's already on, I guess. Stitch it closed. Leave a gap opening at the back, and don't stitch down your drawstrings. All right. Okay, I'm going to try to show you this. I don't pin my drawstring, but when I get, I've sewn the back, and now I'm to my side seam where I started at the drawstring. I just put it in here, because I don't pin my waistband, guys. Okay, I just like hold it as I go. But I make sure that I've got this drawstring up inside, and then I lay that over it so I can feel the drawstring here with this hand, so I know that I'm not catching it in my seam. And then as I get to my next grabbing point, again, I'm just gonna make sure my drawstring is up inside, fold this over. I can still feel my drawstring right there. That fold is gonna go there and there, like so. And then I just keep going around like that. stop here and show you this, because now we're at the front and we've got like kind of a jumble of drawstrings. We're just going to give them both a tug and make sure that they're up out of the way, so when I fold this piece over, I know all of them are tucked up out of the way. I'm going to place that right there. Make sure those are out of the way, and here we go. And then I'm going to keep moving around. Oh, there I go bumping you guys. I've got a tripod right here in between me and the sewing machine. So it's kind of like, ah. But I'm just going to go around the rest of them, just using my hand to tuck that in and folding this over and then stitching down. And now here we are. Excuse me. Dogs barking, me sneezing. Sorry. So remember, when we get here though, we're not going to close this all the way up. We're going to leave us a gap to get our elastic through. So I'm going to take a few more stitches and then I'm going to stop and leave the rest of that open. Let's stop right there. Okay, so I've got me a little gap here, about that big. Okay? Okay, so I've got my waistband sewn down, all except for this little gap that I've left at the back to insert my elastic. I've got my drawstrings coming out the front, and you can see if I give them a tug, it just draws everything right up. I pull it right out, draw it right up. That's what that crisscross really helps with. Okay. Anyway, now I've got my elastic. I've already cut the elastic to fit my waist. Put me a safety pin on there. And now, through this back opening, I'm just going to run my elastic all the way around. And just, you'll have to be careful a little bit when you get to your drawstring. I mean, going this way towards this center front, it's not going to be too bad because you're going in the same direction that drawstring is already pulled. But when you get to that center front, just make sure that you're not dragging something else along with you, like pulling the string back in, if that makes sense. So here I am at the center front, and I'm just going to kind of like wiggle my pin and make sure that it's back behind everything. And it is right there like so, because my drawstrings aren't moving. And then I'm ready to go on down. Like so. Yeah, you can see I didn't snag any of my drawstrings. It's pretty simple. And then when we get around to this other side, ooh, I don't want to pull that in. Let me stick a pin on here so I don't pull my end all the way through. I can't tell you how many times I do that. Have you ever done that? You gotta pull everything back out, start over. Oftentimes I do that. So here at this edge also, this is where we sewed that drawstring down. So as my pin's coming through, I just want to make sure that I, don't catch that and start pulling my drawstring back that way. So I'm here, kind of wiggle it. Yeah, I'm past it. Slide it around. And I'm feeling in here, yeah, to make sure that I didn't pull that drawstring back with me, but I didn't. I can feel it's just my safety pin right there. That's the only thing you have to kind of watch out for. Alrighty, so I'm now back around. I'm gonna go and stitch my two ends together, straighten everything out, and then once I get these two ends sewn in, I can let them slide back in, close this over, and then go ahead and stitch that closed. Okay. All right, our waistband is complete. So we've got our elastic inserted. We have our drawstring here. If we want to make things more snug, we can. If we want to loosen them up, we can. I've finished sewing that closed. And that is it to the waistband. So now, if you are staying with me to do ruffles and trim, let's get moving on that. So, in the instructions, that's on the front page. I think it's 80 inches suggested for each leg. I'd have to go back and find it here. Oh. Where am I at? I can't find it. You may have to find it in your instructions. Here we go. Here we go. Okay, so yeah, 80 inches for each leg. The small ruffle is 1.25 inches wide. The larger ruffle is 2.25 inches wide. You need 80 inches of each one, okay, for each leg, so 160 total. But I mean, that's not specific because we're going to gather that up. That's just roughly the amount I use to get the fullness of the ruffle that I want, because we're going to take these strips. These are my strips here. I just did them like the width of the fabric. This is my 2.25 inch strip. And what we're going to do, if you want to connect, like if you have multiple strips and you want to go ahead and seam them together, you can do that. Since I'm leaving raw edges, if you just want to overlap the ruffles when you get to that part, you can do that too. Just when you run out of one ruffle, lap it over and start the next ruffle. But to make the ruffles, what you want to do is on one edge, I think I said 1/4 inch from the edge is about what I'm going to do. Run you a narrow zigzag. Okay, that's gonna let this fray, but it's not gonna go crazy fraying. And then on the other side, you're gonna want to run your gathering stitch. And to do that, you want to run 2 stitches parallel to each other and use the long stitch on your sewing machine so that you can pull those to pull your ruffle in. If you have a ruffle foot, certainly you can use a ruffle foot as well. If you want to do it by hand, with a lot of people use a needle and thread and then just pull it, you can do that too. Anyway, make your ruffles however you want, basically. So I am going to go get started and make all these ruffles, and then we will be ready to attach them. All right, so I've been ruffling, and I want to show you real quick how I do my ruffles. I mean, everyone has their own way. The way I like to do them is I run my two parallel lines, but you can see I put mine pretty far apart. Let's see, I hope I'm in screen here, and I hope you can see that zoomed up close. So my 2 parallel lines are pretty far apart. When I stitch this down, I'm going to stitch between those lines, and then I can easily come back and remove, just pull out these 2 stitching lines, and to me that gives a cleaner look. It also helps me get a really nice gather. You can see how this fabric just kind of folds itself up. The other thing I do is once I've gathered them and gotten them to the length that I want, I give them a press. Again, this is not, I used to not do all these things, but then my ruffles would kind of be wonky, and so I've kind of figured out this is my method for getting the ruffles the way that I like them. So I just kind of hold everything down, give it a little press. Because I like my ruffles to be kind of tightly gathered, like I want to know I have ruffles, but I also don't like them, hanging out a bunch, if that makes sense. So you can see how that kind of flattened everything down. I don't know if you guys know what cartridge pleats are. These are not cartridge pleats, but to me, when you do it this way, you almost get the effect of a cartridge pleat. Just where they're really tight together. Okay, so that's my wide ruffle. I've got it pressed. I'm going to do the same thing. This is a small one. I'll show you. And you see it gets, this is my edge I zigzagged, and then here's my 2 stitching lines. Again, I'm just trying to look at the camera, make sure that you're seeing what I think you're seeing. So let me press this one. while I'm pressing, I did get my jumbo rickrack dyed, and so I am going to do that. I was kind of undecided when we first started this project because I was like, well, you know, this really isn't the right red. So, but I was able to dye it, and so I am going to put the jumbo rickrack on. Okay, those are pressed, and you see how they kind of lay down? I will show you what they look like once you put them on. This leg I've already done, and you can see right along here where when I pressed it, those kind of got a few little wrinkles in them. When I wash it, that's going to come out. Let me hold this up and let you see though. I hope that's clear, guys. And hopefully you can see how I've got my stitching. Now when you stitch these down, I'd use this little kind of quilting stitch, and but you need to at least use a zigzag. If you use just a straight stitch, all of this is going to fray upwards, this is going to fray downwards, and you have the potential for your ruffle to come off. So on both of these, I've used my quilting stitch, which kind of goes back and forth. You can use a zigzag stitch, and then you can see I've gone back and I've pulled out my strings from the gathering stitch, and like I said, right across here especially, you can see where I pressed that down when my gathering stitch was still in there. But again, when I wash these are all going to settle back out. And I guess now you've seen my dyed rickrack. So it was pretty bright red before, so I just got it over dyed a bit, so now it's a little bit darker red, and I'm happier with that. So the next step was just to stitch well, I guess I didn't explain this too well. Let me go back over this. So when you attach your first ruffle, your largest ruffle, oops, sorry, I bumped you guys again. When you attach your largest ruffle, you're going to attach it right here in your seam. I mean, you're going to go a little ways up. I just kind of put my stitch right above my hemline. So about there. And then your top ruffle you're going to want it to hang over your bottom ruffle just a tad bit. So about there. And then my rickrack is going to go just above that. So it's going to come right here along the bottom of the bunny, and I like that. So that's where I'm going to sew everything down at. And once I get those sewn on, we are done. We will have a full completed pair of shorts. So let me kind of shake this out and show you the leg again. There's our ruffles. So go get your ruffles sewn on, get your jumbo rickrack sewn on if you're choosing to do that. And actually, I didn't prepare before this part, but actually for the jumbo rickrack, you could use lace trim. You could use any kind of trim here. Just use your imagination. Kind of look at things, see what you like, and see where you want to go with that. So I will go finish up the other leg, and then they will be ready to go in the wash. Thank you guys for sewing with me. This has been so much fun. I hope you'll come back and sew some more. Go watch some of the other videos that I have. I will tell you, I'm not a really big shorts person, just being a quote-unquote older woman. I don't wear shorts a lot. I do like these because they are a little bit longer. But Bridget and I were chatting on the phone the other night, and she was like, hey, what if you made those longer? You know, they're so cute. Why don't you drop the legs down? So I am going to do a video on how to do that. Everything else is going to be the same about the shorts, but I'm going to show you how to adjust your pattern to simply drop this leg down to make you a capri. So be watching for that video. And if you like what you're seeing here, subscribe so you can be notified when I upload more tutorials. Thank you guys.